Already blowing the whistle. Greetings and good evening. Welcome to the round table. Today is October the 17th, 2023. And welcome to what is going to be another fire episode of Bloviation, word of the day, by certain people wearing certain types of headgear. Bloviation. Remember that, everyone. That is the word of the day. And I am so looking forward to talking about this weekend's action, both in the NCAA and in the NFL, with no one better than the true blue man himself. Brother Griff, how are we doing this evening, brother?
Man, as you can see, on Friday I told you, should a certain event happen, I wasn't going to be here today. Since said event didn't happen, I'm present. And I'm feeling good, bro. I'm feeling real good.
I am not mad at you for that. And welcome to the entire street. Oh, my bad.
Ooh, you just did a Shannon Sharp.
Welcome to the Roundtable family, to this episode. And thank you for joining us wherever you are in this world. We both pray that you and your family are doing well. And we thank you for dedicating the next 59 minutes and 59 seconds at a minimum to supporting this particular podcast. As I have been deemed the man, the relative of Nostradamus himself, we had a very interesting weekend of football. We are no longer in the realm of the unbeaten. So the 1972 Miami Dolphins have already popped open that champagne, and they have already celebrated their only undefeated season. But prognostications do matter, right? Prognostications do matter. I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to allow it to sink in, right? Where we are. Do we have our current records, Jordan? If we could pull those up so we can see how much distance Brother Griff has closed on me over the past weeks. What is the overall record? I don't want to know this weekend's record. I know my Saints made me lose one. Messed around and went against the Dallas Cowboys, and that cost me a little bit. But that's okay. That was a loss I was willing to take, because I knew I was going to make it up in other areas. So, man, what happened to the undefeateds? We're going to get into that. But you always start where you leave off. Your Dallas Cowboys. Y'all did something last night. What happened to the Los Angeles Chargers, where they should have won that game at home? Not saying that they were favored to win, but the way that the game played out, the Chargers should have had a better opportunity to win that game. We'll talk about coaching in a minute. Yeah. Let's talk about the game itself, though, Griff. Congratulations, first and foremost, to yourself and to all of those Cowboy fans out there on a much-needed victory, a huge victory, a statement victory, and it thrusts your team back into the conversation about being one of the best teams, not only in the NFC, but in the NFL. Sir, I turn the floor over to you.
So, look, man, we're just going to take one win at a time, man. We took what the competition gave us. I'm going to say this, Drew, man, as much as I'm happy and excited that we won, it's still some areas that we need to improve on. We didn't come out on all cylinders in the beginning of the game. It's like we come out slow all the time, man. I want us to be just as aggressive as we was in that second drive. What really was disappointing in that game, to be honest, for me, was the officiating. I ain't never seen so many flags, and I mean, I ain't just talking about on the Cowboys side, because there was some bad calls. I think was called on the Chargers as well, man. But also, the Chargers got a couple of drives that kept them in the game because of officiating. And but I like my defense. They bend, but they didn't break. He was able to stop the Chargers, I think, twice inside the red zone on the 1 yard line. I know you say you don't want to talk about coaching, but again, the coach had an opportunity to kick some field goals, but instead went for that one. But you know what? Mike McCarthy did the same thing, and I was actually good with the 4th and 1 call as far as doing it. But as far as the play he called, man, I ain't never been a fan of the quarterback lining up underneath the center on a 4th and 1, especially when it's a lone one and you trying to do what you see the Eagles do. Bro, I'd rather the quarterback be in the shotgun and you spread the offense out. You spread the defense out. It gives you options. But when y'all all lined up in that tight, bro, everybody knows it's about to go down, and that's exactly the Cowboys left some points on the board. But the defense stepped up when it needed to step up at the end of the game. Michael Parsons did what he was supposed to do, and I was happy for Stephon Gilmore, man, because Keenan Allen was eating him up all night.
No, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. The Cowboys stuck to their defensive game plan. Dan Quinn implemented that game plan in an effort to limit Justin Herbert's ability to pick apart their defensive backfield by applying that pressure. Now, it took a while for that pressure to actually get on to Justin Herbert, but in the biggest moments of the game, when you think big-time players going to make those big-time plays in those big-time moments, your guy, Michael Parsons, made the defensive play of the game, along with the interception made by who was the defensive back?
Stephon Gilmore.
Stephon Gilmore to close the game out. But let's go to coaching. Everybody's favorite 2 coaches in the National Football League to beat up because they both make questionable calls at questionable or at key points of the game, right? And I know that Mike McCarthy understood the gravity of this game because the entire football world was watching. The entire football world was interested in this game. The entire football world knew going into La La Land that the Dallas Cowboys were favored to win this game, but the Dallas Cowboy fan base, which was 75% or 80% of the people in the stands, expected a victory and expected somewhat of a easy victory. Mike McCarthy made some questionable decisions. You can question whether or not he did what was best for the team or he did what was more conservative for the team. It ended up working out. Let's talk about a little bit of game management. And I know we're over on time, Dolan and Jordan, but we're going to spend just a little bit more time talking about coaching because I want to make sure that we get coaching in as a point of discussion for tonight's show. The mismanagement or the intentional allowing of the clock to run down at the end of the first half and settling for a field goal instead of pushing the envelope and going for a touchdown was something that ended up working out in Dallas's favor. You mentioned going for it on 4th down. Staley's calls on 4th down inside the red zone on multiple occasions is what really cost the Los Angeles Chargers that game. His decision-making, instead of going for 3 when the team eventually loses by 3, is not only a head-scratcher, but it really calls into question why this guy still is employed by the Los Angeles Chargers, along with several other coaches in the NFL, because the talent is there, and you are allowing that talent to be wasted away because of piss-poor coaching. In the last season, or in the last 12 calendar months, the Los Angeles Chargers have lost 6 games by 1 score, 6 points or less. 6 games. 6 games. Right? And that doesn't always work out in your favor, but a lot of it is based on the decisions made by the coach at key points of the game. The Chargers fan base, as small as they may be, should be extremely pissed off at their current head coach and their future head coach, who may already be in the building, boy wonder, could be setting him up to ensure that he steps in as soon as this season is over. I said it several weeks ago that if the Chargers make the playoffs, Staley may have a job if they go deep. If they don't make the playoffs, he should definitely get fired the day that the regular season ends if he doesn't get fired before. Now, congratulations to the Cowboys again. Y'all are still not a top 5 team, though.
I didn't say that.
Moving on to the game of the weekend. The game of the weekend, the 49ers against the Browns. We knew that this was going to be a tough game. We knew that this was going to be a defensive focused game because we have the number 1 and the number 2 defense in the National Football League on the field. PJ Walker, who was playing flag football with me last week, right, went in and beat the top-ranked team in the NFL. Regardless of how it was accomplished, it was accomplished. What do you think about the 49ers? And more importantly, what do you think about the Browns and the AFC North when we get to that?
Well, first of all, man, you actually alluded to it when we started talking about the 2 top defenses in the league, man. Yeah, I always say, man, defense always win games. If you got a good defense, you don't have to have the best quarterback. Look at some of the Super Bowls that was won with quarterbacks that we barely knew who they were, but they had great defenses. That's what happened this weekend. PJ Walker, he had moments, but he also did some bonehead stuff. But at the end of the day, that defense was able to do what a lot of teams hadn't been able to do, and that was put pressure on Purdy and force Purdy outside his comfort zone. On top of that, not only did the 49ers lose the game, man, but they lost some key personnel in that game that could be out for a few weeks or so. When you're talking about Debo, you took Debo away from Purdy. You took Christian McCaffrey away from Purdy, man. You know, those was his safety nets. And so now it was all put on Purdy. And what we saw last night was, and I don't want to call him Mr. Irrelevant because I still think he's a kid. I think every quarterback every night ain't going to have a bad game. But what we saw in that game, for the first time, Purdy was human. Because before all these other games, man, that boy been on point, man. He ain't had to put a lot of numbers up, but he's been so accurate in getting the balls to the people that he needed to get it to. And so this put the 49ers in a what I consider to be a questionable situation right now. They go from being the number 1 team in my eyes to maybe dropping because of the injuries.
Yeah, I can understand everybody believing that they should drop from the number 1 spot if we were ranking teams, which we are at the end of the show. We're going to see the rest top 5 teams in the NFL at the end of the show. So for everyone that is watching, please ensure that you submit your top 5 teams, and let's see if your top 5 matches Griff's top 5, and you know the order is similar. What came out of this game most importantly was the injuries to CMC, Debo, and Trent Williams, and a long-term effect of that. Was Purdy exposed? I do not believe so. San Francisco still should have won that game, if not for a slight wide right kick by the kicker. Purdy did enough to still put his team in position to win. He cannot get on the field and kick the field goal, obviously. In the biggest moments when they needed that game-winning drive, he channeled his inner Joe Montana and said, let's go and get the yardage that we need. And Brandon Aiyuk and that receiving core, they took methodically steps down the field within the time that they had to put them in a position to win. And Shanahan definitely is not worried about this one loss to the Cleveland Browns, because the Cleveland Browns had just as good of a defense as the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, the 49ers offense was not operating on all cylinders. Got it. Debo will be back soon. The one that you really have to worry about is Christian McCaffrey, because Christian McCaffrey is a critical part of that offensive scheme that keeps that offense flowing, keeps the pressure off of Purdy, and keeps, most importantly, keeps Debo from getting the multiple carries that Debo does not want to get. Debo wants to have the freedom to get those short passes, those in and rounds, those reverses, whatever the case may be, but not to the point to where he has to receive a pounding like he is playing both receiver and running back at the same time. The defense is definitely strong enough, and I will reserve my comments as to where the 49ers may have dropped, or even if they did drop in your ranking at the end of the show. But it says to me that the Cleveland Browns are just as good as we thought they could possibly be at the beginning of the season with Deshaun Watson coming in. You had a backup to the backup playing quarterback, and that game scheme, that game plan, that run game going up against possibly the best defense in the National Football League was good enough, not only to keep you competitive, but to actually come out with the dub. So the dog pound, as it pertains to the fan base, was definitely influential. And you know, the spirit of former dog pounds, i.e. one of my very good friends who recently passed away, who is a huge Cleveland Browns fan. I know that he had his pulse on that final kick. So congratulations to the Cleveland Browns. The AFC North is a legit division. Went 4-0 this weekend, and quite possibly the division to beat in the NFL once it's all said and done, followed by the NFC West. So I look forward to both teams continuing on to have huge success in the National Football League this year.
Drew, I want to say this, man, because you did hit on one key point that I left out. The difference maker too in this game was that Cleveland was able to establish a run. And you hear me hit. I mean, people that watch me on live and stuff like that, they know when you can run the ball, you can keep some of the weapons on the opposing team out the game. And that's one thing. And here's the other piece. Cleveland is also using backups. You know, they only had Kareem Hunt for a minute, and then they got Ford over there, and those guys was able to run the ball. When we talk about PJ Walker at the end of that game, though, he did give the 49ers too much time to be able to drive that ball down the field. But I mean, I don't think they dropped too much, but you're right, man. The 49ers still in a good position. I guess we can move on to go ahead.
No. I was just gonna co-sign to what you said. But when you said they left too much time for the 49ers, a game like that, you take those points when you can get it, right? And you rely on that top-ranked defense that you have in Myles Garrett and that defensive front to put the pressure on Purdy that you need, which they did, and they came out with the dub. So
let me explain what I'm talking about. If you go back and look at that game on that last drive when Cleveland had the ball, they stopped the clock. They threw a pass. They threw a pass when they didn't even need to throw a pass. Yeah. See, that always we done had several coaches do that this weekend, and then we saw some teams lose last week because of clock management, and that comes down to the coach. And people like, well, the coach ain't out there on the field. The coach should have been in that joker ear. I don't know what it is. You don't throw that ball. If anything, I'd rather take a sack, stay in bounds or something, but don't let that clock run. And that's how the 49ers was able. They still had their timeouts that they didn't have to use because of an incomplete pass.
No, you're absolutely right. That was a pass that has been forgotten about. But if that was intercepted, PJ Walker would have been back on the street looking for a job.
Working at Costco.
Missed mistake. That would have been a close one, man. All right, so moving on to another big game that involved an AFC North team that has Super Bowl aspirations. I'm always effing open. Proved to be another way for the Cincinnati Bengals to take care of business at home. I predicted that the Bengals was going to take care of business against Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, DK Metcalf, and that's Seattle Seahawks team that is as good as any NFL team because on any given Sunday, they are liable to beat anyone. They're always going to be competitive, and they were obviously competitive with Cincinnati this weekend. We believe now, at least I do personally, that the Cincinnati Bengals are beginning to turn around their early season struggles. Hopefully, Joe Burrow continues to heal with that calf muscle, and it is becoming very, very stable for him. I don't want to talk specifically about the end result. I want to talk more about where does each team go from here. You could have predicted a Seattle win and still been correct. Predicted a Cincinnati win, you are correct. Where does each team go from here based off of what you saw on Sunday?
Man, I'm going to be man. The Seattle could have won this game, man. Turnovers killed them, bro. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, go look at it. I think Geno threw 2 interceptions. They had like 2 fumbles. bro, you can't win that way. That was the deciding factor, because I'm telling you, they were still able to get the Burrows, because you already know Burrows got that soft offensive line. Hey, Jamar Chase is always going to be open. He said he always open, but really the difference in that game was the turnovers. That's what the turnovers kept the Bengals in that game to where they was able to close it out. It's a part of the game. I don't think neither one of the teams dropped. I think as far as for Seattle, no harm, no foul, because the 49ers lost 2 in their division. So, it really don't hurt them. Now, it really would have set them back if the 49ers won. They had a chance to gain some ground on the 49ers with a win. But, hey, the Bengals, like you said, they upticking. I see an uptick. I started to see some gelling coming along. And as the season goes along and if they can stay healthy, hey, no telling where they might go.
I know, right? And I absolutely wonder, John brought up the 7-Eleven chain.
Yeah, he had the chain on. Jamar Chase had the chain on.
I wonder if he actually paid for that, or was that a prop given to him by 7-Eleven? Now he is endorsing 7-Eleven.
I can tell you right now, if it wasn't, he getting paid for it now. Because like he said,
now, right?
Open all day long, baby. Open 24/7.
24/7. Yeah, now this game between these two teams is just like the game that we just talked about. You look for both of these teams to have continued success. You look for both of these teams to make a deep playoff push. You look for both of these teams to have Super Bowl aspirations. So injuries aside, I see both Cincinnati and the Seattle Seahawks making a deep playoff push. Both, right? Okay. Both making a deep playoff push because Geno wasn't just a one-trick pony last year. Geno and Carroll have a system in place that only is going to improve. And the NFC West is just as tough as the AFC North. So I'm looking forward to seeing both of these teams continue to have success in the league this year. So moving on, man.
We got your ticket, man. You gonna put your glasses on? You need your glasses on for that?
I need my glasses on for that. Right? Look at him, as my old boss would say. Look at him.
Hey man, look, check this out, man. At least y'all can say y'all got CJ Stroud to throw his first interception.
I got that part
right. He threw his first interception, but man. The Texans, man, they are not the team that everybody thought this was going to be that easy. They got the new quarterback, new coach. They gonna go through some growing pains, man. But the Texans said, "Hey, we here, and we already know what's up with your Saints, man. I already know what you're gonna go. I know which direction you're gonna go in. I know who you're gonna talk about. But since you put your glasses on and you definitely looking more educated than you did a second ago, I'm gonna allow you." To elaborate on your thoughts on what took place in this game.
Oh man, this is such a difficult game to break down and it's not at all difficult to break down. This is a system issue. You heard from inside the locker room and from my inside the locker room reporter that it is a combination of lack of effort, lack of discipline, and lack of focus from the player perspective. And the post-game comments by key players on the team, i.e. Kamara and Mike Thomas, letting not only the Saints fan know, but the rest of the league know that, hey, we are not where we need to be as an organization, as a team, because we are not focused on the task at hand, which is to win the game, as Herm Edwards once famously said. The objective is to win the game. Right? You play to win the game. All of that stems from the very, very top. And Dennis Allen, I've been on this bandwagon. I've been, yelling from the mountaintops that this coach is not the head coach for the New Orleans Saints. He is not head coach material. He has proven it at every opportunity that he has had as a head coach that he is not that guy. And I'm going to continue to say it until Gail Benson relieves him of his duties, along with Pete Carmichael, the offensive coordinator that was not. He is not an offensive coordinator. he has been living off of the legacy of one each Sean Payton. He was the OC during Sean Payton's tenure, but we all know Sean Payton called the plays. Pete Carmichael is garbage as an offensive coordinator. He needs to be fired because you have far too much talent on your team not to utilize all of that talent in every way possible. Now, on to the quarterback that they gave $40 million a year for the next 4 years, Derek Carr. Your numbers are way worse than Andy Dalton's numbers.
Hey, and I remember you wanted to get rid of Andy Dalton too.
Bruh. Andy Dalton was atrocious. Derek Carr, you are no better. I gave you grace the first month of the year. We are way past the first month of the year. You are 3-3 as an organization, but we have not lit up the scoreboard not once. That 34-0 beat down of the New England Patriots last week said more about the New England Patriots than it said about the New Orleans Saints offense. The Saints defense can only do so much. It is a top 10 defense. It is a top 5 defense in the National Football League. And the cry has always been, give Derek Carr a top 10 defense. He's going to the Super Bowl. Well, daggone it, you got a top 10 defense, Chief, and you are not going to the Super Bowl as of right now. You can always turn it around. Got it. But you really need to channel your inner mama mentality and fix your issue as a quarterback. Injury set aside. If you're unable to go, you're unable to go, and I understand that. But until that point, you either need to put up or shut up and start turning your money back in, because it looks like you're still in a paycheck, just like Daniel Jones is still in a paycheck and all of these other overpaid quarterbacks that's still in a paycheck. And in the infamous words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about it.
Hey, man, you really just told us how you really feel. So, but look what Troy said, man. Your boy DC, he put 350 yards up this weekend, man.
That don't mean nothing. You can put up 700 yards. An L is an L. And the Saints were not supposed to lose that game. The Saints allowed a rookie quarterback with 5 starts under his belt to beat a top 5 defense because our offense couldn't get the job done, because our offensive coordinator couldn't call plays to get the job done, because the head coach allowed the offensive coordinator to call garbage plays that couldn't get the job done. Therefore, the quarterback, the head coach, and the offensive coordinator.
Hey, man, you know what y'all should have did? Y'all should have called Mike McCarthy and asked him how to win.
I'm going to turn my back.
Hey, go ahead and bring up the next one. Bring up the next one, Jordan.
And I know you're not talking about Mike McCarthy giving advice out. Oh, another big game this weekend between AFC South division opponents that we projected was going to have a huge impact on that particular division. And we saw that the Jacksonville Jaguars took care of business as we projected that they would take care of business. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, your guy Calvin Ridley, and the rest of those offensive weapons, Kirk, that they have are starting to come into form. They're starting to come into mid-season form and take control of the AFC South as we thought they would, right? Denny Green once said, they are who we thought they are. So what do you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars legitimately having a shot to come
again? I don't want to take nothing away from Jacksonville. They played a great game. Don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But when you got Gardner Minshew throwing 3, I mean, you throw 3 interceptions, man. I mean, like somebody said, I think it was Bubba Doug when he was talking about that. The dude is in a red jersey. Your team jersey is white. Completely different. With the Jaguars, they wearing blue. You got white on, man. How you keep throwing the ball to the opposing team, man? That's where they really hurt. And then for the Colts, man, I mean, AR-15, they basically say he gone for the season, bro. It's a possibility. He got to have his shoulder surgery, and it's going to probably take him out for the rest of the season. Hopefully the young man realizes that I got it. You're athletic and you're talented, but in the position that you in and in the league that you in, hey, all he got to do is look at Robert Griffin III and some of those guys. You can't keep doing that stuff. It's not sustainable in this league. But the Jaguars, I mean, Trevor, and we talking about injuries again. Trevor Lawrence is hurt. Another guy that might not be playing this weekend. but I do see them coming together as far as offensive wise, getting Christian Kirk involved, getting really involved. ETN running that ball, they did look pretty good, man. And who was that? I think is it Evan Ingram that they got? That's their tight end. I think he getting the ball to him often too. So they looking pretty good, man. But it don't hurt you when the opposing team just give you the ball. You should win the game.
No, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned Trevor Lawrence's injury, and it's a short week for the Jaguars because guess who they play on Thursday night? My Who Dat Saints on Thursday Night Football. So if Trevor Lawrence has to sit out this week, I would advise that Trevor Lawrence, you sit out to get help because there's nothing worse than your star quarterback going up against a top 5 defense and re-aggravating or further injuring whatever it is that he is nursing. So
his knee. So you telling me you want to? I know you don't want to win like that, though, man. I know you don't want to win like that,
bro. Hey, I want obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars to put the best product out on the field, but you don't want to get your prized pupil, your star quarterback injured. So I would advise Trevor Lawrence go and sit it out this week.
Hey, well, Troy already said Troy said they can beat y'all without Trevor anyway, so it's all good.
That might be true, just like we can beat the Raiders with me at quarterback. That's not really making a leap. That's not really making a statement. But we shall see when the time comes. But no, you're right about Anthony Richardson having to sit or possibly having season-ending surgery for that AC sprain in his shoulder. Derek Carr had the same injury. Maybe Derek Carr should have had surgery too.
Hey.
Let me stop.
Derek Carr get paid. He getting paid too much money, man.
I know, right?
AR-15 is still under a rookie contract, bro. They can afford to let them sit out.
And you mentioned him understanding the rigors of the NFL and his eagerness to want to make plays early in his career. But you have to understand, if you want to be in the NFL for an extended period of time, you have to pace yourself as that young quarterback, i.e. what you're seeing down there with the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. So all joking aside, I hope that the best works out for all of those players and the teams get it together. So I'm looking forward to the Jaguars, even after they lose on Thursday, to still have control of the AFC South and still make that deep push into December and January and represent not only the Duval County but the entire AFC South when the playoffs come. Now,
before we move on right fast, like Jordan wanted me to remind everybody, hey everybody, thank y'all again for being here tonight, but make sure that you share this link on your page. Let everybody know so they can come on and join with us in the hilarious commentary that we receive inside the comments. And we will get back to answer some of those questions I did see, but I'm looking at some of y'all comments and then it's awesome. So just make sure that y'all like and share and I'll link to y'all page. I appreciate it. But go ahead, Drew.
Yes, sir. Moving on to another big game that, as Troy has labeled Nostradamus. That's not the word he used, but we're going to roll with it. The Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Jets up there in the Meadowlands. I called it. I said that the defense was going to step up because the Philadelphia Eagles offense is not where we thought it was going to be at this point in the season. They're not the same 2022 Philadelphia Eagles. We mentioned at the very beginning of the season that they were going to have a little bit of growing pains, even though they were undefeated coming into this game at 5-0. Jalen Hurts having a new offensive coordinator and learning a new system was going to take some time for him to get acclimated. It was going to take some time for that new offense to kick in, even though A.J. Brown had a phenomenal game, even though at moments Smith is that guy, depending on the defensive team that they're playing against. The Jets came in with a game plan. Robert Saleh had a game plan to manage the clock and keep Zach Wilson on somewhat of a pitch count and let what this game is going to look like in the fourth quarter, And as long as we are within one score within the fourth quarter, all bets are off. And guess what happened? There are no more undefeated teams in the National Football League because the Philadelphia Eagles took that L. What say you, sir, as to why you believe the Eagles are no longer the king of the hill?
Well, I don't know if you know who this, man, but the Eagles wouldn't sign Julio, man. So for me, I don't understand why, me personally, because that's not the problem as far as receivers. Like you said, it's the offensive play calling. And if anything, I'm gonna go sign somebody. I'm gonna go sign somebody in the secondary because that's what they're struggling at. And we really gonna see. I think, man, this weekend, they play Miami. That secondary is about to. They can't get no heat on Tua. It's gonna be real ugly. But for me, Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions, bro. You cannot win games. See, everybody talk about when Dak, but Jalen Hurts got more interceptions this season than Dak do. And you cannot win a game when you're giving the opposing team the ball. That's how you keep them in the game. And the Jets have a great defense. I don't want to put this out there, but a team with a star on the side of their helmet didn't have an issue with the Jets. Matter of fact, they put a whole bunch of numbers on that defense, and that defense is good. Hell, the Alabama boy, Quinn Williams, he even got an interception. So, when a defensive lineman get an interception, hey, something is going on, bro. But the Eagles offense just looks so out of sync to me, man. I don't see them getting Jalen outside the pocket. I didn't see that many design quarterback runs. They not using his strength, man. He can get the ball, and Devontae dropped a few balls this weekend. That was very uncharacteristic of Devontae Smith.
Yeah, you had a conversation,
and they shut the run down. I'm gonna leave that around. They shut the Eagles' run game down too. That's been the key factor for the Eagles this year. Swift been able to run on all the teams. And you shut that run, man. They shut that run down. That's the other problem that the Eagles had this weekend.
No, you're right. You are right. And with this new offensive coordinator, new offensive scheme that the Eagles have implemented, we just talked about longevity and the health of the quarterback position, right? With key quarterbacks already hobbled so far this year. You mentioned that the Eagles aren't placating to Jalen Hurts' strength, which is being that dual threat quarterback. Do you think that it is intentional to keep him inside of the pocket? Because now we've given Mr. Hurts $265 million, right? And we need to protect our investment. So let's ensure that we're not calling quarterback rollouts, intentional quarterback runs, and allow him to go through his progression, allow him to utilize those 2 to 4 seconds that he has inside of the pocket, because we have a solid offensive line, to find the receivers that we know are game changers. Devontae Smith is a game changer. A.J. Brown is a game changer. Swift is a game changer in the run game and in the screen game. Goddard, who is our tight end, is a top 10 tight end. So why should Jalen Hurts have to run the ball? Why should Jalen Hurts have to get out of the pocket to scramble? Only when the play completely breaks down. It has worked for us thus far. Yes, we are not as proficient as we would like to be because we're no longer, putting up points, 30 to 40 points like we did in 2022. But why put our quarterback in danger just to make it look good? We're still winning. We're still 5-1. We're still at the head of the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys. So everything kind of lined up to give the Jets this opportunity to be competitive. And come out with a dub because, as you mentioned, the Jets defense is nothing to sneeze at. They proclaim themselves to be better than the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens. We know that's not the case, but they are a top 10 defense. Their defense is good enough to get them to the playoffs, right? I haven't even talked about Zach Wilson and the offensive side. So why put Jalen Hurts in that position?
So I think when you heard me say that, first of all, I've been watching Jalen Hurts way before he came to the league. Jalen Hurts is not a pocket quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think my man Tommy put it on there. Tommy put Jalen Hurts averaging throwing the ball 45 times in a game. My thing is he don't even have to run. Get him outside the pocket. That's how he create plays that way. Trying to keep him in the pocket, that ain't what Jalen do, because Jalen is not a tool where he can anticipate where the receiver is going to be at. You have to be really open or for Jalen to throw that ball that way. But my thing was, if you can shut the Smith, you can shut Scott and those other running backs down, it puts the Eagles in a bad situation. They offense is predicated off running the ball, and they didn't got away from it this year. They are not running the ball. They're not just averaging many yards rushing, which now you trying to make Jalen something that I'm just sorry he's not. I love him. You know I love me some Jalen Hurts, but I also know what his strengths are, and they're not putting him in good situations. That's all I'm saying. I know they spent a lot of money on him, but you know what? If you get Jalen outside the pocket, Jalen can create some stuff. He ain't got to run and get hit, and Jalen know how to get out of bounds. That's one thing I will say. But trying to keep him in the pocket, that is what the defense wants. So that's what I was saying about this.
Right. And if there is a quarterback that you trust to make the right play at the right time whenever he has to scramble, it is Jalen Hurts, right? Because not only does he possess outrageous lower body strength where he can run over defensive backs and linebackers, he plays with his head, not necessarily with his body. But again, new offensive coordinator. Doesn't this remind you of what you saw last year in the Buffalo Bills locker room when Dabo left to go be the Giants head coach and the new offensive coordinator, the former quarterback down in the Miami Hurricanes era when they were winning that national championship way back in 2001, Ken Dorsey came in as the new offensive coordinator, and you saw Josh Allen struggle. You saw Josh Allen take it upon himself to do more than he should have. I don't think that this is the exact same, but it is similar in the belief that we have to protect our investment, right? We have too much invested in him to say that, okay, he gets hurt, he's out 3 to 4 weeks. Yes, we're still good enough as an organization to win, but we have all of our chips in this basket with this particular quarterback. And he no longer has to prove whether or not he can still run the ball or whether or not he's a dual quarterback. He's proven that. We know that. There's nothing left for him to prove on that front. Now, going to the other side of the ball, the Jets, Jets. Is Zach Wilson good enough to carry the Jets to the playoffs? I mentioned this on Friday night show. Is he good enough? Yes.
I think he is.
He is good enough.
With his defense, he is good enough.
Okay. Serious question. You say with the defense, he is good enough. I haven't looked at their complete schedule.
Yeah.
But I know that the AFC East is a beast. You still have to play Buffalo again. Got it. You got them on the opening night. But you still have to play the Miami Dolphins. It looks like New England are going to give you a couple of victories. But you still have to play other AFC teams that are playoff AFC teams. And we know as these other teams get more proficient and more accustomed to the offenses that they have implemented, they're going to begin to put points up. And not every team has a very good defense. I don't believe Zach Wilson can carry this offense to score 24 to 30 points a game. Right?
I think he done got more comfortable now. From when they played Buffalo in the beginning of the season to now, we looking at a different Zach Wilson. And it ain't just Zach Wilson. You got Breece Hall. Now they finding ways to get the ball to Wilson and those guys, man. With the defense, we got a different. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put this out there, that the Jets Jets could probably beat the Bills again. Yes. And they playing in Buffalo this time, right? They play in Buffalo.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
Yeah. Hey man, I'm trying to get that Nostradamus status, bro.
That's not the way to do it, bro. I'm going to tell you. No, but I'm still in the corner of if the New York Jets want to beat a legitimate Super Bowl team, and I know Aaron Rodgers is providing a lot of hope that he is going to be able to return from his torn Achilles by the time we get into mid-January, if the Jets are in the playoffs, regardless of whether or not they are a wild card team, to where you only have to win 4 games to be Super Bowl champs, or a division champ which is not going to happen because of the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Just 3 games to be the Super Bowl champ. And an 85% healed Aaron Rodgers is much better than a 100% Zach Wilson. But at the same time, I do not believe Zach Wilson has what it takes to carry these New York Jets to the playoffs. I would still, before the trade deadline, make a push for Kirk Cousins. That would be the only quarterback I will go out and get. I originally had Tannehill in that mix, but I don't think Tannehill has the stamina to walk into a new locker room and be able to perform. The first bad game, he would probably get pulled. The fans would turn on him, and it would be a complete disaster. But Kirk Cousins has what it takes to throw the ball down the field, especially since JJ is on the injured reserve list down there in Minnesota, and will give Minnesota the best, or not Minnesota, the Jets the best chance not only to make it to the playoffs, but to possibly win a Super Bowl if Aaron Rodgers is unable to physically return. As hard as during the recovery and his rehabilitation.
You keep saying Kurt, man. You keep saying Kurt, man. Kurt didn't already put out that he is refusing to waive his no trade clause.
Man, that don't mean nothing.
Kurt ain't going nowhere, man. Kurt said he staying with his team, bro. Hey, and Aaron Rodgers was out there. Did you see Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball and stuff out there right now? So
I see.
Was 5 weeks after an Achilles, man. I done seen people not even be able to walk 5 weeks after an Achilles.
I know. I mean, it's a medical phenomenon. So
okay.
I don't know. All right, moving on to the last game of we can talk about the Lions.
We don't need to talk about it. Miles said we got 13.
I want to give the Lions their love. The Lions need to have their love. Thank you for taking care of business against my NFC South opponent, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the division-leading Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Heisman House exile Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you're right. We don't really need to talk that much about this game, but this game made a statement for the Lions to the rest of the league that not only are we good, but we are one of the top 5 teams in the league. I dare say we are one of the top 3 teams in the league because we beat all of the division leaders thus far this year. The only game that we lost was to the Seattle Seahawks in a game that we should have won. So we should be undefeated up there in the 3-1-3. And if they stay healthy, it's going to be a problem for the entire league to include the 49ers. What you say?
I mean, again, I don't want to spend too much time, but the problem is that they ain't healthy either, man. Matter of fact, Montgomery might not be playing this weekend. They supposed to get Jabril Gibbs back, but Jameson Williamson came in and made an outstanding play. But they hurt in some areas. But again, another good defense. The Buccaneers lost. They might your boy. We just said Heisman I had a senior moment right now, man.
No, you're not having a senior moment. You intentionally forgot his name because I don't care to mention his name.
But anyway,
let's move on to the NCAA, man. Miles, thank you for that reminder. Let's move on to the big games of the NCAA this weekend. I told you those Huskies up there in Washington land took care of business. The new top 25 is looking like this. Any surprises?
Arrogance, man. Arrogance. That's all I'm gonna say. That's why that team in green lost this weekend. That we talked about it earlier. Coaches having opportunities to win games, put points on the board, and they allow arrogance to get in the way. And Oregon's coach did the exact same thing he did last year, and he lost this game for his team. Mm-hmm. I ain't taking nothing away from Washington. That dude, the quarterback for Washington, is the truth, bro. That kid is the truth. And Bo Nix, man, Bo Nix, hey, he wasn't Bo Nixon like the Bo Nix me and you know. In the SEC, Bo Nix was doing this thing too. But what I did see, if it's a chink in Washington chain, you can run the ball on them. Oregon was successful. That's why they was in that game. They was able to keep actually the quarterback off the field and sustain drives from running the ball. But Washington is the truth. I blame that on the coach. I blame it on the coach.
Correct. And coaching did cost the Oregon Ducks this game. The physical talent on the field is the physical talent, and they are good enough to beat Washington. They are good enough to win the Pac-12. They are good enough to make it to the college football playoff. But like you said, coaching and in-game coaching decisions is what separates winners from losers. Now, what you usually do when you want to take chances and be aggressive and go for it in the red zone is when you're playing an opponent that you are projected to lose. You are the underdog. Well, Oregon, you were tit for tat with this team. You're just as talented as the team. So you have to take the points when the points afford themselves to you, because it eventually comes back to bite you. It's always me giving up a field goal or foregoing a field goal for a possible touchdown, and I don't get the touchdown, and I end up losing by 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points. So it costs. That's all I'll say about Oregon. They learned a lesson. They're going to continue to be successful. The Washington Huskies are going to continue to be successful. Penix is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. He's behind the guy down there in Baton Rouge, Red Stick, right? He is. Jaden Daniels. But the Huskies are going to be there in the end. Moving on to USC Trojans going up to Notre Dame and completely stinking it up. What happened to Caleb Williams and the Heisman?
No, hey, they ain't played. I mean, Notre Dame ain't played. I mean, USC ain't played no real defense, and they was able to apply pressure. Caleb Williams wasn't able to sneak out and do some of the things that he is normally used to do to make some plays. Man, they was putting that heat on him. And Notre Dame had something to prove, but after getting drugged by LSU, I'm not LSU, by Louisville, and then also losing that close game to Ohio State, man, people had written them off. And so they had something to prove, man. But they proved what we already knew about USC. USC had a good offense, but no defense. And all it was going to take is stopping Caleb Williams. And if you could stop him, then you're going to beat him. And that's what happened to USC this weekend.
Wow, I cannot believe Bo Nix was a freshman in 2014, and he's still.
Bro, I'm telling you, you see.
But no, you're right. You're right about USC and Notre Dame. And I was on the bandwagon that the Fighting Irish were no longer fighting because of their loss to Louisville, not necessarily the loss to Ohio State, even though that you gave up that last second touchdown that cost you the game. It happens. Ohio State is still undefeated. They're still a top 3 team. So I'm not going to hold that loss against Notre Dame. I hold the loss against Louisville against them. So they still have a fighting chance to get to a January 1st bowl. They're not going to make it to the playoffs, but they proved that USC is all fluff. Their defense is just as soft as the other side of the pillow, as the late great Stuart Scott used to say, and that USC will not be there in the end because of that defense or lack thereof, and they're not going to come out of the Pac-12.
No. I see Oregon and Washington playing again.
Right. And we haven't even talked about Utah. Utah is going to make some noise too. Yeah. So moving on to the Alabama Crimson Tide going up against the Arkansas Razorbacks in the SEC West Division battle. This game was much closer than everybody anticipated. This game possibly could have derailed the Alabama Crimson Tide season, but y'all took care of business in Tuscaloosa. Again,
bro, don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but we almost pulled a Colorado. We was up by 3 scores, and I don't know what the hell happened in the second half, but that's what coaching coming to play. We got cocky, but we was able to outlast, and I take the W. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, sir. No, that's all I'm gonna say about that. As Forrest would say, is Colorado should be not only the example for Prime to lock in, but for every college team to take care of business, play the game 60 minutes. That's why you play 60 minutes. I was pulling for Arkansas, just so you know.
I know you was. You pulling for Tennessee this weekend. I know you.
No, actually, I'm not. I'm not, because I want LSU and Alabama on the first weekend in November's game to actually mean something in our division, right? Because the winner of that game is going to be the division champ, in my opinion. Even though LSU lost to Ole Miss beat Alabama, and like I said, it's going to be
no, they didn't. Alabama beat Ole Miss.
Oh well, whatever. You know what I was talking about.
Next slide.
All right, moving on. All right, to North Carolina against Miami. It ended as we expected. Miami tried to rebound from that loss to Georgia Tech, but going up against the Mac Brown-led North Carolina Tar Heels, they simply did not have enough in the bag to come out of Chapel Hill with a victory. Do we see North Carolina actually being a threat to FSU? That's the question.
I don't see them being a threat, but I'm looking forward to that game because, to be honest, I think those are going to be the two teams that's going to play for the ACC championship game.
Yeah. And Troy asked the question, can a two-team loss make it to the playoffs? It's possible if we have a lot of one-team or one-loss teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
If one of the Power 5 conference champions is a two-loss team, yes, they will make it to the playoffs. And it only depends on whether or not if it's a top – only if it comes out of the SEC.
Yeah.
Only if it comes out of the SEC. Any other team – in any other conference, I do not believe it. Now, on to the next, the biggest game of the weekend.
We need to stop, man. We need to go to our picks, man. Don't you do that, man. Don't you?
Tigers and LSU. All I would say about this game, it is that the LSU offense has something for that Alabama defense in the first Saturday in November.
Okay.
Y'all better pay attention because Jaden Daniels is coming to Tuscaloosa to blow your defense
up.
Bro.
X Factor is Brian Kelly. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's go.
That is true. Moving on to Griff's much anticipated NFL top 5 list. What do we got this week, man?
So what I got here, I got Miami as my number 1 team. I actually have the 49ers still at number. I got them at number 2 instead of number 1. I actually have the Lions at number 3. The Chiefs, and then the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles don't drop completely out of the top 5 for me, but, I can't go against Patrick Mahomes, and I just think right now the team that looked the most complete to me is the Miami Dolphins.
That is a very good top 5, and I do disagree, but not that bad or not that much. I still have the San Francisco 49ers at number 1, only based off of the projected duration of the injuries for CMC and Debo. If they're not out long, the 49ers bounce back because, again, they played against the top defense in the NFL this past Sunday and still should have won that game. They still should have been the dub at the end. The Miami Dolphins are the top offense in the NFL and deserve the number 2 ranking. The Detroit Lions are the number 3 team in my book. And the number 4 team is the Philadelphia Eagles, even though they lost to the Jets. And the only reason that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the top 5, it is because they have the best quarterback in the National Football League. They have currently one of the top 2 coaches in the National Football League. They have the top tight end in the National Football League.
And they got Taylor Swift.
And they are the defending Super Bowl champs.
And they got Taylor Swift too.
And they got Taylor Swift. But they have not earned that 5-1 record because I am still not a believer that the Chiefs have earned every victory. They have been aided and assisted by calls left and right in every single game. The video does not lie. You have players intentionally attempting not to tackle the quarterback. I don't know why, because that is the objective last time I checked, was to tackle the opposing team's quarterback. They are running by Patrick Mahomes like he is invincible or invisible. What really is going on? Why does the Kansas City Chiefs continue to get these calls? That is the only reason I have them in the top 5, and they are at a very low 5 for me. They are not the 4th best team in the league. Okay. I'll turn it over to you for any closing comments.
The only thing I want to do is I want to answer. Miles asked a question earlier about how did I feel about Kittle's wearing that shirt. I'm all for it, man. I love stuff like that, man. I know some people don't like it, but hey, if you talk it, you got to be able to take it. And if the shoe was on the other foot, I would expect the Cowboy fan to probably have some type of shirt on the exact same way. That's just how I feel about it. Because it's all fun at the end of the day. But other than that, man, another great show. appreciate everybody again, as always, jumping on here. I love all the commentary in there, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Friday, man. I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all week. Turn it back over to you, Drew.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Again, thank you all for joining us on this blessed evening. To the Roundtable family, y'all have a safe week. This hour just absolutely flew by with all of the information that we had to cover, with all of the key games that happened over this past 3 days in the NFL and the NCAA. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It only gets better. It only gets better as long as the NFL officiating removes itself from the decision-making or the outcome of these games. We're looking to have a very, very exciting rest of October, very exciting November, and definitely an exciting December of football at both levels. We look forward to seeing you all Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Continue to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and please do something nice for someone. Y'all be breezy.